Beloved, let us speak plainly, for the heart asks a plain question. Can you step out of time into presence on demand? Not tomorrow, not when conditions are perfect, not after you have read another book or repaired another fault, but now can you pass from the tyranny of the ticking hand into the stillness where God is all and God is here? I answer you with a most positive yes. Yes. Without any mental hesitation or reservation. Yes, because the secret is not in your years or your works or your will. The secret is in your identity. Before Abraham was, I am. This I that you are is not a creature of clocks. This I that you are is the offspring of the eternal, the very awareness by which the stars are beheld and the sparrow is noticed, the eye that hears the whisper, be still and know that I am God. Now, because this is so, we will not postpone what is already given. We will not make a ladder to heaven, for heaven is the atmosphere of God. And where God is, heaven is. And where you are, God is. We shall do a simple, holy thing. Take your device, yes, the very thing that often enchains you, 2 minutes and alerts, and set a timer for 7 minutes. Let this screen become sanctuary. Let the commonplace become consecrated. As Moses turned aside to see the bush that burned and was not consumed, turn aside from the stream of doing and attend the flame within. The 7 minutes are not magic. They are mercy, the mercy of choosing consciously to let time be time while you rest as the I that is not in it. Hear the refrain we will carry together, the phrase that is more than phrase, the truth that is more than thought. God works in the infinite nowness. Say it softly within yourself, not to persuade God to appear, but to remind yourself of what cannot cease to be. God works in the infinite nowness, not later, not sooner, not if, not when, but now the eternal now, that is without beginning and without end. I and my Father are one. That oneness has no clock attached to it, no calendar pinned to it. It is as present under the midday sun as under the midnight sky. It is as present in the boardroom as in the chapel. It is as present in breath as it is in silence. If anxiety has circled you like wolves in winter, if you have lived by the bell and been judged by the schedule, hear the tenderness of the Spirit. Lay your burdens down, not by postponement, but by recognition, not by might, nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord. You and I are not going to haul the moon into its phase or the tide into its shore. I am not making the stars come out nor the sun to set. I am perfectly content to let God run the universe. And if God governs galaxies, God governs this moment. If God keeps the planets in their courses, God keeps you. So I invite you, I welcome you into this practice that is not a practice but a coming home. In 7 minutes, we will do together what eternity is always doing. We will rest in the one. We will not strive. For striving is of time. We will not bargain. For bargaining presumes a second power. We will consent. We will let. We will listen. Thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory, not later, but now. Let the bell you set be the bell of surrender. Let the small light of your screen be a candle in the inner sanctuary. For the promise I give you, and the promise the Christ gives you, is sure. Yes, you can enter the infinite now on demand, and we will do it together in 7 minutes. God works in the infinite nowness. God works in the infinite nowness. God works in the infinite nowness. You have no time, and I have no time. Hear it not as a riddle, but as revelation. Time is a ruler in the schoolroom of sense, a yardstick the mind lays alongside motion and change. But life, your life, The life that is God does not move from less to more, from young to old, from beginning to end. God is, being is, spirit is. I am that I am, saith the Lord. When you submit your soul to hours and years, you submit the infinite to an instrument, and then complain that the instrument bruises what it cannot contain. But the life of you is not within the clock. The clock is within the life of you. Your breath may be counted. Your being cannot be. Consider quietly the witness in you that is never altered. The face in the mirror has changed houses and garments. The mind has learned alphabets and contracts and lullabies. The body has lengthened and softened and wrinkled, yet the one that says I has not aged a minute. The infant's gaze, the youth's wonder, the elder's wisdom, all are windows through which the same eye has looked. This is not poetry. This is observation. This is not you. This is yours. The body is your garment. Thought is your weather. Time is your calendar on the wall. But you, who are you? The one that knows, the one that witnesses, the one before whom the page is turned, and the season changes. Before the page, before the season, before Abraham was I am, not was, nor will be. I am. Now let us be plain about past and future. The past is memory, and memory is a moving picture in the mind. The future is forecast, and forecast is a sketch upon the air. Neither memory nor forecast has substance in God. The now, this living, luminous now, is reality. Now is the accepted time. Behold, now is the day of salvation. Salvation is not rescue from an event. It is recognition of presence. Events rise and fall like waves. Presence is the sea. Events appear on schedules. Presence abides without schedule. When we live by events, we become anxious accountants, balancing the books of yesterday's regret against tomorrow's fear. When we live by presence, we are branches drawing from the vine that is ever-flowing life. Abide in me, and I in you, said the Master. Abide is not a tense of the calendar. Abide is the posture of the soul in the infinite now. I and the Father are one. Hear it as a present tense fact, not a future hope. We are not traveling toward oneness, nor are we requesting it as a favor. Oneness is the nature of being. God is indivisible, one, infinitely expressed, infinitely manifest. And your individuality is not apart from that one, but the very way the one is announcing itself as you. Therefore, your life is not a procession of hours to be saved or spent, but an ever-present radiance to be witnessed. Jesus Christ, the same yesterday and today and forever. The sameness is the witness in you, the Christ of your own being. Unthreatened by clocks, uninjured by calendars, untouched by deadlines and anniversaries. The sameness is not dullness. It is the stillness from which all true movement receives its grace. And so our holy aim in this path is gentle and exact. Stop measuring. Start witnessing. Let minutes keep appointments, but do not let minutes keep you. Let calendars plan commerce, but do not let calendars govern consciousness. Turn and turn again, from counting to beholding, without strain, without hurry. Rest inwardly as the I that is. Not to make something happen, God is already being God, but to receive what is already so. Say within yourself, not as magic, but as remembrance, thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory. Say within yourself, I and the Father are one. Let the past rest as a story told, and the future sleep as a dream unformed, while you, even now, dwell in the secret place of the Most High. Here, Where the heart stops keeping time, life begins to shine of itself. Now you have all read this little story written in the heart before it was penned in any book. A man in a rowboat on a bending river. He rows and he rows. Bend to bend he measures. Stroke to stroke he counts. And because he can see only the next turn, he wonders, are there rapids ahead? Or lilies? Or a fallen tree? He cannot tell. He tightens his grip and trims his effort to what is just before his eyes. He hopes the sun will hold. He fears the wind will turn. And all the while his attention is chained to the water immediately under his keel. This is how most of us have learned to live. Event to event, meeting to meeting, morning to noon to night, congratulating ourselves for our strength when the current is kind and condemning ourselves for our weakness when the current is swift. But the river does not change because the man strains. The river is the river. Now imagine that same man not abandoning the river, not despising the rowboat, but consenting to a lift. He steps into a balloon, quiet, sure, and he rises. He rises not to flee, but to see. From the balloon he beholds what was hidden. The meadow there, the village there, the brief cataract here, and the wide, slow reach there. He sees the river as one thing, from spring to delta, from mountain to sea. Before him there is no before and after. There is the whole at once. And he is not anxious. He is attentive, yes, but he is not anxious. For what was fragmented and threatening has become continuous and friendly. They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. Do you hear it? Not by rowing harder, but by rising higher. Not by adding hours, but by consenting to altitude. This is the shift from sequential struggle to panoramic presence. The balloon is not escape. The balloon is awareness. The lift is not geography. The lift is God. Be still and know that I am God. Be still, and the mind that clutched at minutes receives a view that no minute can contain. Before Abraham was, I am. The eye that abides is the eye that sees. And when you rest in that eye, what seemed apart in time assembles as one now. Your morning and your evening, one now. Your city and a distant shore, one now. On land or sea or air, in kitchen or boardroom or hospital, at birth or burial or breakfast, the same presence surrounds, the same life animates, the same love governs. Jesus Christ the same yesterday and today and forever. Sameness, not as sameness of events, but as sameness of presence through and beneath all events. From the rowboat, you and I say, I will get there if I hurry. From the balloon, we hear, you are held there already in God. From the rowboat, we push against fear of what is unseen. From the balloon, we smile at how gently the unseen has been holding us from the beginning. When you must row, you row. But you row from seeing, not from anxiety. And the oar becomes light. When you must wait, you wait, but you wait from altitude, not from obstruction, and the minutes become servants, not masters. In this lift, you discover that what you called tomorrow's problem is already embraced in today's grace, that what you called next month's provision is present in this moment's oneness, that what you called distant help is interior nearness. Now is the accepted time. Behold, now is the day of salvation. Let hurry fall away like a rope let loose. Hurry is the creed of the rowboat mind. Harmony is the atmosphere of the balloon. You are not asked to outrun lack or outshout fear. You are invited to rise above their appearance by consenting to the view of God, not in tomorrow's rescue, not in a frantic summoning of a second power to do battle with the first, but in the simple, holy fact that God is the only power and God is here. I and the Father are one. Say it not to change the river, but to remember the sky. Say it not to move the bends, but to receive the wholeness that already is. And let the refrain seal it upon your heart again and again, until your inner weather clears and your hands unclench upon the oars. God works in the infinite nowness. God works in the infinite nowness. God works in the infinite nowness. You have never seen a tree. Hear it kindly, for it is said to free you, not to confound you. What your eyes name tree, trunk, and bark, leaves that green and then gold, limbs that lift and then are bare, is your concept of a spiritual idea. The reality of tree is not wood, it is life. The reality of tree is not shape, it is the living idea by which God expresses strength and beauty and shelter. In spring, your concept swells. In winter, your concept sleeps. But does life come and go with the sap? No. We look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are not seen are eternal. You see seasons, reality abides. You see form and function and foliage. Reality is the invisible perfection that cannot wither. You have never seen me. You behold a face, you hear a voice, you register gestures and syllables, but the eye that is speaking to you is unseen. This is not me. This is mine. This is not you. This is yours. The body is an instrument, a garment, a utensil for expression. It is not identity. And because it is not identity, you are not at the mercy of its mood or its calendar. Identity is spirit. Spirit is invisible. Invisible is not absence, it is essence. For the kingdom of God cometh not with observation. Neither shall they say, lo here, or lo there. For behold, the kingdom of God is within you. You cannot see my hand. You perceive an outline, fingers, joints, skin. This is the concept that the senses report. But the hand itself, as God knows hand, is a spiritual idea. Capacity to bless, to give, to serve, dexterity to do good, symbol and servant of love's doing. That hand is permanent, changeless in its truth, appearing as this or that form in this or that season of embodiment. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. Righteous judgment looks past the outline to the idea, past the event to the essence, past the picture to the presence that is forever perfect. Now understand why our practice is what it is. We do not meditate to decorate concepts or to compel forms. We do not sit to varnish the bark or paint the leaves. We consent to reality. We turn from the worship of what can be weighed and measured to the adoration of what eternally is. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Faith in this way is not optimism about tomorrow's picture. It is recognition of today's reality, unseen to the senses, self-evident to the spirit. In the holy hush, we are not bargaining with a distant power. We are beholding the only power as all. We are not pleading for better appearances. We are yielding to perfect being. And in that yielding, fear finds no altar on which to burn. How quickly the heart grows faint when it grants power to forms, power in coins, power in contracts, power in headlines, power in weather, power in symptoms, power in personalities. But forms have no power of their own. They are concepts through which reality may or may not be faithfully represented. The sunbeam has no light apart from the sun. The shadow has no substance apart from the object. The picture on the screen has no life apart from the light behind it. In him we live and move and have our being. In him, not in images, not in calendars, not in circumstances. When you cease to deify the visible ceases to terrify you. When you withdraw belief from appearance as cause, appearance loses its whip hand over thought and feeling. Therefore, beloved, let the inner word correct the outer witness, not by denial of what the eyes report, but by recognition of what God is. God is indivisible, one, infinitely expressed, infinitely manifest. I and the Father are one. In that oneness, the real of you, the real of tree, the real of hand, the real of world stands already whole. Let minutes keep their parade. Let seasons turn their page. Let forms come and go as theater on the stage. We will take our seat in the audience of the infinite now and watch without fear, because our worship is reserved for reality. Thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Forever, not in the sense world only, not in the shapes we cherish or the shapes we dread, but in the invisible, inexhaustible life that is the substance of all true seeing. Meditation meets that life. Meditation meets invisible reality. Forms are concepts and cannot rule you. And in this quiet certainty, the soul rests, the grip loosens, and the smile returns that knows what the eyes cannot show. God works in the infinite nowness. Now let us be clear about the faculty we have been taught to overuse. The mind is not a forge where we hammer out realities. The mind is a window through which reality shines. It is an instrument of awareness, fine, useful, obedient when consecrated, unruly when enthroned, but it is not creator. God is indivisible, one, infinitely expressed, infinitely manifest. The ideas of God are God expressing his idea. And the human mind, quieted and clean, receives them as a lens, receives light. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, not manufactured below, and the task is not to construct gifts out of thought, but to let them descend as grace into consciousness. Think of the violin and the bow. The bow does not compose the music. It transmits what is already scored in the mind of the composer. So with us, our thinking, surrendered, becomes bow to the music that is always playing. How much labor have we undertaken to make spiritual things occur, affirming and reaffirming, outlining and commanding, straining to hold a vision in place as if we were Atlas, keeping the heavens from collapse. That day is over. Let the mind receive the end of straining. Not denial, not indifference, but wholly ceasing from manufacturing thoughts about God and yielding to what God is already being in and as this very now, not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. The natural man thinks up conclusions and calls them prayers. The spiritual man becomes still and calls them down as inspirations. They sit back not in laziness, but in reverence, and let these divine realities come to them, not forcing the river, receiving the sea. Answered prayer is not the universe rearranged to suit our outlines. Answered prayer is a divine impulse felt or sensed within. A wordless announcement that presence is here as peace, as guidance, as sufficiency. My sheep hear my voice, said the Master. Not with ears, but with awareness. Not in the clamor, but often in a still small voice. Sometimes it is a warmth that spreads without argument. Sometimes it is a sentence that is not in our vocabulary. Sometimes It is simply the cessation of fear. And in the quiet that remains, we know what to do. And more importantly, we know who is doing. The peace of God, which passeth all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. We are kept not by conclusions, but by communion. Therefore, in these 7 minutes to which we have consecrated ourselves, the posture is not push, but permission. Sit and let the breath be what it is. Let the world be what it seems to be, and let the soul remember what is. The intention is not to make something happen. The intention is to become receptive to what God is already being. Be gentle with thought. Let it pass like a bird across the sky. If phrases arise, let them be few and spacious, like stepping stones across a quiet brook. Be still and know that I am God. I and the Father are one. Thine is the kingdom. No effort to hold them. No condemnation if they fade, only a turning, and turning again to the awareness that precedes thought and survives its coming and going. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength, not in the strain to arrange. I am not making the stars come out, nor the moon to rise, nor the sun to set. I am perfectly content to let God run the universe. Let that confession be your rest. For if the one who orders galaxies abides as your very life, what remains for the mind but gratitude and acquiescence? We are not inviting a second power to repair a first. We are acknowledging one power only. And in that acknowledgement, fear has no argument left. The mind lays down its tools and becomes a sanctuary. The heart loosens its grip and becomes a chalice. We are not emanating light. We are consenting to shine with the light that already is. When stray worries knock about minutes, outcomes, approvals, do not wrestle them. Let them knock and remain inside. Return, if you will, to a child's simple prayer, not as petition, but as poise. Speak, Lord, for thy servant heareth. Listen not for syllables, but for atmosphere. Not for content, but for presence. Like the wind that bloweth where it listeth, the Spirit moves without our management. We hear the sound thereof, and we do not know whence it cometh or whither it goeth, but we rest in its reality. The practice, then, is a holy listening. No pressure, no pleading, just consent. And as consent deepens, you will discover that doing is born out of being without friction, that timing emerges from timelessness without hurry, that provision appears as an inevitability of oneness rather than a victory of effort. This is the end of straining and the beginning of living as instrument. Thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory, now and always. We will not take the bow for the music. We will keep the bow supple and clean and let the music have its way. Now we take our stand where safety is not a hope but a fact. The infinite way recognizes God as the only power, not a greater power among rivals, not a rescuer summoned to a battleground, but the only. God is indivisible, one infinitely expressed, infinitely manifest. When you rest in that oneness, you have already ceased to fear appearances, for you have withdrawn belief from the imagined second. God is light, and in him is no darkness at all. If there is no darkness in him, there is no darkness in the life that is your life. I and the Father are one. Here is safety, not in time's promises, not in man's devices, but in God's onlyness. We do not practice rescue religion. We are not calling upon a God to repair a universe that God did not make, or to combat a power that God did not create. Harmony already is. We do not need any God to fix problems. We need the truth that God already is the completeness of being. The Master did not ask for a better storm. He knew a better peace. Peace, be still. That peace was not manufactured. It was realized. And realization is our way. Before a single leaf stirs, before a single form mends, we may rest. Because the ground of our life is presence, not prognosis. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Shadow is not substance. Appearance is not authority. Let us unmask fear for what it is. Suggestion, hypnotic argument, an illusory state of thought without law, cause, or divine authorization. The sins you have dreaded, the diseases you have named, the lacks you have rehearsed, these parade as facts, but their warrant is forged. Who shall separate us from the love of Christ? Asks the apostle, and then answers with his life. Nay, in all these things we are more than conquerors through him that loved us. More than conquerors, because there is nothing to conquer in God's allness. The victory is not over a thing. The victory is in the seeing. Judge not according to the appearance. Return belief to its rightful altar. Recognize one power only, and fear loses its voice. Make this recognition liturgy until the heart itself breathes it, without your help. Thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory. Thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory. Thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory. Again and again, until the shoulders drop, until the breath deepens, until the inner weather clears. Not a charm, not an argument, but acknowledgement. In that acknowledgement, you do not wait for safety. You discover you have never left it. Safety is not in vehicles or medicines or locks or ladders. Safety is in thee. Safety is in the indivisible one, where your being abides. And look how large this oneness is. I and my fellow man are one. We are brothers and sisters in Christ, not by bloodline or boundary, but by life. And that life spills over all our partitions, animals and vegetables and minerals, sea creatures and field birds and mountain stones, one life, infinitely expressed, infinitely manifest. The breath in your lungs, the sap in the maple, the tide at the shore, the fire in the star, all one life graded to form, unbroken in essence. When you behold thus, suspicion softens, rivalry subsides, dominion becomes stewardship, and safety ceases to depend upon the behavior of forms. Forms will do what forms will do. The life behind them is your home. Therefore, beloved, rest now, not later. Rest before you see a single change in form. Let appearances conduct their pageant. Let headlines trumpet their noise. Let symptoms make their claims. You are not their subject. You are the temple of the living God, and the living God never shares sovereignty. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know. In that knowing, the mind lays down the fantasy of two powers. The heart returns to its native courage. The body becomes a faithful servant of peace. Thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. And because this is so, this very now is safe. This very now is home. This very now, God is all. Now we prepare the field, not by gathering more, but by setting down. Enter into thy closet, and when thou hast shut thy door, pray to thy Father which is in secret. Close the door you can close, and let God close the door you cannot. Choose a quiet seat, a simple chair, steady beneath you, back straight enough to keep you awake, soft enough to ease the body's pleading. Let your hands rest open, palms up, as if to say without words, I am not here to hold, I am here to receive. Soften the gaze, eyes half lidded or closed, as you prefer, so that seeing turns inward. Put your phone on timer mode, notifications silenced, bells retuned to serve the spirit. Let that little screen become your chapel, an altar not of pixels but of purpose. Set the timer for 7 minutes, no more and no less for now. And when it begins and ends, treat the tones as you would the bell that calls a monastery to prayer. Now set intention not to get, but to give consent. Lay aside outlines, petitions, plans. Simply yield your awareness to awareness itself. Here I am. Be thou my awareness. Say it once, quietly within, like a lamp being lit. Not to coax God nearer, for I and the Father are one, but to remember the nearness that never left. We are not invoking a second power to fix a first. We are acknowledging one power only. Let that acknowledgement be your posture, not bargaining but beholding, not persuading but permitting. Speak, Lord, for thy servant heareth. Let those words be less a sentence and more a climate receptive, unclenched, faithful, without drama. Thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory. Thine is the kingdom. In that refrain, motive is clarified, will is quieted, and prayer becomes presence, praying in you. Let breath establish the baseline. Easy in, a little softer out. No counting is required. Gentleness is required. Inhale as if you are being breathed. Exhale as if surrender is the most natural thing in the world. Like a tide, the shore does not command. Let the breath come and go without your management, and rest in the one who moves it. Be still and know that I am God. Be still, not rigid, but unhurried. No, not with syllables, but with a quiet confidence that needs no evidence. If thoughts pass, let them pass. If phrases rise, let them be few and spacious. I and the Father are one. Thine is the kingdom. Return to breath, and then beyond breath to simple being. Whenever you notice you have wandered, no scolding, no effort, just consent, and consent again. As to frequency, begin once each day with faithful tenderness. Morning is kind before the world puts its mask on. Evening is kind when the world sets the mask down. Choose a time you will honor and let the practice take root. Soon, add a second and a third morning, noon, and eventide, so that the sun finds you consenting at its rising, consenting at its height, consenting at its setting, and later in season, when grace has trained the heart in lightness. Let there be brief pauses throughout the day, 8, 10, 12, even 20 moments when you turn inward for 30 seconds or a minute, and remember little bells within your monastery. The clock becomes your servant. The moments become doorways. You may even give yourself a double portion on the Sabbath of your choosing, but whether once or many times, let each be light, sincere, unforced. God works in the infinite nowness, not in the strain of quantity. Prepare also by withdrawing from needless stimuli. Reduce the scrolls and the noise. Curate what comes to your ear and eye as you would a chalice for holy use. Let Scripture be your companion, not as argument, but as atmosphere. The Psalms' quiet meadows, the Master's simple certainties, Romans 8's fearless inseparability. Let poetry that lifts, recordings that hush, Readings that steady the mind's weather be your diet. Avoid the diets that agitate. The endless commentary, the jangling jest, the traffic of grievance. Not from prudery, but from purity of aim. We are tuning an instrument to hear a still small voice. Let us not drown it in symbols. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Quietness is not emptiness. It is room for God. This is all the preparation required. A chair and a consecration, a timer and a turning, a breath and a willingness. Nothing to purchase, nothing to prove. A simple, holy setup, readying you to receive what already is. Now is the accepted time. Behold, now is the day of salvation. Not tomorrow's 7 minutes, but this one. Set the field, beloved, and let the dew of presence gather of itself. Thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. And because this is so, the bell that begins your practice is not a summons to labor. It is a reminder that you have stepped again into what never ends. The bell sounds. We begin. Start the timer. Sit upright, steady and unforced, shoulders easy, hands open in your lap as if you had already put everything down. Let the face soften. Let the tongue rest from forming plans. Whisper inwardly, not to command, but to remember. Peace, be still. Again, softer than breath. Peace, be still. We are not talking to a storm. We are consenting to a presence. Be still and know that I am God. For these minutes, retire from management. I am not making the stars come out, nor the moon to rise, nor the sun to set. I am perfectly content to let God run the universe. Now is the accepted time. Behold, now is the day of salvation. Let the body be here as a friendly servant. Let the room be what it is. Let the world go on without your supervision. You have no time and I have no time. Because in this holy beginning, we are stepping out of the clock into the infinite now. Feel the simple fact of being seated. The chair receives you. The earth receives the chair. Yield a little more of your weight to gravity, like a child trusting a father's arms. Breathe as you are breathed, no counting, no shaping. On the in-breath, receive. On the out-breath, release. Let the inhale arrive as grace. Let the exhale leave as surrender. Peace. Be still. If a thought knocks asking, how long has it been? Smile at the door and do not answer. We have lifted from the rowboat's minutes into the balloon's quiet seeing. There is nothing to hurry, nothing to delay. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Quietness is not emptiness. It is room for God. Now, gently bring awareness into the hands, not as anatomy, but as aliveness. Feel the tingling in the palms, the warmth that needs no reason, the subtle hum that says, I am here. Let this noticing extend to the feet, the soles, the heels, the tender spaces between bones, alive without your management. We are not fixing. We are not asking. We are beholding. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Wanting rests when shepherded by being. Let the breath continue to breathe you. If mind presents an inventory, tasks, headlines, names, let it flow past like leaves on a stream. We are not plucking leaves. We are seeing water. You have no time and I have no time. God works in the infinite nowness. Keep the touch light. You are not drilling down. you are opening up. Aliveness in the hands, aliveness in the feet, aliveness in the space behind the sternum. Let the shoulders drop another hair's breadth. Let the jaw unclasp. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth, give I unto you. We are receiving what already is, not manufacturing what is not. If a feeling arises, warmth, coolness, a gentle spreading, quiet, welcome it without comment. If nothing in particular arises, welcome that too. Presence does not need effects to be itself. Now, with the breath as your boat, let a simple phrase carry you home. On the inhale, soundless and easy, I and the Father. On the exhale, just as easy, are one. Once more, inhale, I and the Father exhale, are one. No strain to mean it, no effort to hold it. The words are stepping stones across a brook. Use them gently, and if they sink beneath the water of silence, let them, after a few breaths, allow the phrase to fade into felt union. Let the words cease. Let the knowing remain. In him we live and move and have our being. Before Abraham was, I am. Not your human history saying so, but the I that is God's own self-expression, announcing itself within you. Should a thought return timelines, outcomes, opinions, welcome it with a tiny inward smile and turn again to the felt. Now, aliveness in the hands, aliveness in the feet, breath arriving and leaving without your help, awareness, aware of awareness. You have no time and I have no time. Thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory, not once to impress the mind, but as atmosphere for the heart. Thine is the kingdom. This is consent, not command. This is beholding, not bargaining. We are passing, even now, from time measure into presence meeting, from counting minutes to noticing, being, peace, be still. Let the oars rest against the hull. The river is the river. The sky is the sky. And in this holy stillness, God is all. Now let identity be the resting, not the reaching. Without sound, yield to the ancientness that is new every moment. Before Abraham was, I am. Let that not be a thought you repeat, but a fact that receives you. Feel awareness widen of itself, not by effort, but by willingness, like a balloon lifting from the riverbank. From the rowboat you counted currents in minutes. From the balloon you behold the whole course at once. You are not floating away from life. You are rising into the view from which life is seen as one unbroken. Now, the river is continuous, the sky unmeasured, and you abide as that I which is before time, within time, and untouched by time. I and the Father are one, not two powers, not two lives, one life, infinitely expressed, infinitely manifest. Let the words dissolve. Keep the knowing. Now, the sacred interval. No mantra, no image, only being. Rest here. The mind is not asked to hold. It is invited to be held. Let silence do the praying. If a phrase must move across the heart, let it be quiet, almost a fragrance rather than a sound. Thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory. Then allow even that to sink beneath the surface of awareness like a pebble vanishing into a clear lake. Wordless, objectless, self-evident. This is not emptiness. It is fullness without furniture. The presence that needs no proof. The light that shows itself by being seen. I am that. I am. Feel how fear has no handle here. how tomorrow has no perch, how memory loosens its claim, not nothingness, godness, the still small voice, not as syllables, but as atmosphere. Stay gently now. Include the senses without leaving the center. Hearing arrives. Do not name. Let sound be sound. Footsteps in a hallway. Wind fingering a branch. A distant engine. All waves on one sea. None foreign to the silence from which they come. Sight. Whether the soft field behind closed lids or the hush of colors before you, let it be light being light, not object being object. Touch weight of the body, warmth of the hands, breath at the nostrils, sensation as ripples in the untroubled lake. Taste and scent may whisper. Let them whisper. We are not reaching out to collect the world. We are allowing the world to be present within presence. Whisper once, inwardly and simple, as a note that tunes the whole instrument. God works in the infinite nowness. And then do not add. Be, as the bell approaches, make no contract with results. Refuse the old audit that asks, what did I get? Presence is not a merchant. Grace is not a wage. Harmony already is, and fruit appears in its season. Consider the lilies. They do not labor over becoming. They reveal what is given. Leave the forms to form themselves. No grasping, no measuring, no verdict. If a thought returns to bargain outcomes, proofs, signs, let it pass as cloud before a sun that neither argues nor moves. Thine is the kingdom. That is enough. The quiet, you know, is not an effect. It is your nature remembered. The guidance you do not yet hear is already on its way, as inevitability, not as achievement. Safety is not earned, it is realized. When the bell sounds, let it find you still at rest in I am. Let it find you unhurried. Do not leap. Do not stamp this moment with a label. Simply allow a breath to rise and fall, and let gratitude answer for you a simple thank you with no object and no reason, for God is reason enough. Thank you, without pointing, without puzzling, without story. Thank you, because life is. Thank you, because I and the Father are one. Thank you, because before clocks and after calendars, in beasts and birds, and stones and stars, in you and as you, the holy abides. And as this 7-minute chapel completes its ringing, keep the lamp within trimmed and burning. Nothing is ended, for what is eternal does not conclude. Thank you. After the bell, do not hurry. Let 30 quiet seconds stand like a doorway you do not rush through. Sit as if the air itself were prayer, as if each particle were saying, holy, 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 and you were content to listen. Then let movement begin the way a tide returns, not with a break, but with a seamlessness. Rise slowly. Place the feet deliberately. Let the hands find their work as an extension of the stillness, not as a departure from it. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and then, moving, know still. Before words scatter you to the corners, take a simple page and inscribe one line. Not a report, not an analysis, not an outline to improve upon tomorrow, only the trace of a fragrance that lingers now. One word, or two at most. Warmth, spacious, quiet joy. I am. Let it be like incense, naming its own sweetness. Do not explain it. Do not cage it. Set the pen down. Close the page. The line is not to help you remember a past moment. It is to honor a present presence. Let your yea be yea. Let your line be your yes. Now return to the world without leaving where you are. Do not exit the chapel. Let the chapel move with you into everything. The sink is a font, the dish a chalice, the cloth in your hand a small liturgy. The inbox is a nave, each message an opportunity to bless rather than to hurry. Whatsoever ye do, in word or deed, do all in the name of the Lord, not as a performance for eyes, but as participation in the one who does all. There are not two lives, one holy, one human. There is one life, infinitely expressed, infinitely manifest. I and the Father are one, washing a cup, one drafting a reply, one stepping into traffic with patience as your pace. Make a little rule of midday recall. Before the next task, before you reach for the phone, before you open the door, give 2 unhurried breaths to remembrance. Inhale, soundless and simple, I and the Father. Exhale, just as simple, are one, twice only, and then proceed. These are small turnings of the rudder that quietly set the ship of your day on its true course. Pray without ceasing is not endless wording. It is frequent consenting. The infinite now is not far. You have no time and I have no time, for the now abides within and as you, ready to be noticed between one step and the next. Trust the nudge that rises in that atmosphere. Answered prayer will not come to you as a contract stamped and notarized. It comes as a felt impulse, a clarity without argument, a gentleness that moves you before you explain why. After the fire, a still small voice. You find yourself waiting those 5 extra minutes that spare you entanglement. You find yourself speaking the softer phrase that opens a heart. You find yourself turning aside at the unseen danger because peace led and you followed. Do not bargain with it. Do not ask it to show credentials. Thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory. Let that be enough. If you forget, and we do, return without penance, no condemnation, no scolding. Now, no condemnation is a present relief, not a doctrine to file away. The fragrance is patient. The chapel is within. At the sight of your turning, peace rushes to meet you as if distance had never been. One breath, one inward bow, one whispered knowing. God works in the infinite nowness, and you are home, even while standing in a line or mid-sentence on a call. So we go on, not from presence into life, but with presence as life. Feet on sidewalks, heart in sanctuary, hands at labor, mind at rest, eyes on the task, soul on the throne that never moves. Lo, I am with you always, not to the end of minutes, but to the end of the world's claim on you. Carry the fragrance, beloved. Let it ride your gait and your glance and your replies. Thine is the kingdom. Thine is the power. Thine is the glory. In this very now, in dishes and emails and every ordinary door, the Holy goes with you as the you that never left. And now we give this life a cadence, not as rule for rule's sake, but as love's way of remembering itself. Begin simply, for 1 week, keep 7 minutes once each day. Be faithful, be light, be sincere. The second week, add an evening, morning, and evening, like the first and last lights of a single day. The third week, let noon join them, morning, noon, and eventide 3 bells for one presence. In time, as grace trains the heart in gentleness, add small turnings through the day, 8, 10, 12, even 20 pauses of 30 seconds or a minute, each a brief bow of consent. I and the Father are one, twice only, and proceed. The tyranny of time dissolves beneath frequent unhurried remembering. The clock becomes servant to the now. Give yourself a double portion on Sunday. Linger. Do not make it heavier. Make it holier. Read Psalm 23 aloud as living truth, not as literature. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He restoreth my soul. Yea, though I walk. Speak it as present identity. Or open Romans 8:35-39 and let it read you. Who shall separate us from the love of Christ? I am persuaded that neither death, nor life, nor things present, nor things to come, shall be able to separate us from the love of God. Read slowly, with breath, until the words stop being words and become climate. Thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory. Let that refrain wash the week clean. All the day, practice mental hygiene. Consciously reject every suggestion of a second power in person or thing or condition. Not in bodies, not in balances, not in governments, not in germs. Judge not according to the appearance. When fear whispers, return belief to its rightful altar. God is the only power. Thine is the kingdom. Let your refusals be soft and sure, not combative, but consecrated. If a headline claims authority, if a symptom argues reality, if a scarcity parades as master, bow inward and answer without heat. Harmony already is. I and the Father are one. Be still and know that I am God. Then go on with your task in quiet trust. Common obstacles come. They are part of the schoolroom. Time pressure. Remember the balloon. From the rowboat you count minutes and currents. From the balloon the whole river is now. If you cannot find 7 minutes, find 70 seconds 6 times. Consent, not duration, opens the view. Restlessness, return to the breath that already breathes you. Peace, be still. Feel the aliveness in the hands, the warmth behind the sternum, the simple weight of being seated. You are not forcing quiet. You are noticing the quiet that holds you. Result seeking, reaffirm. Grace is not a wage. We do not labor for harmony. Harmony already is. Consider the lilies. Let the orchid go. Presence is the treasure. Effects appear as they must, when they must, if they must. If dryness visits, welcome it as you would the rain. Both are weather, not the sky. Set gentle guardrails. Fewer tea parties with distraction. Fewer masquerades of noise. Fewer banquets of commentary and grievance. More nourishing inputs, scripture spoken softly, poetry that lifts without strain, recordings that bathe the mind in hush. Curate your senses as chalices for holy use. Withdraw lightly from the buzz that frays attention, not from prudery, but from purity of aim. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Quietness is not a punishment. It is permission for God to be obvious. Make presence your rhythm. A bell in the morning, a bell at night, a bell at noon, and many little bells between frequent, light, sincere pauses. Not heavy, not heroic, not rare. Small obediences. Often, the mind will learn the flavor. The heart will take the lead. The body will find its ease. And as you keep this way, keep the mantra of safety always near. Thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory. Thine is the kingdom. Thine is the power. Thine is the glory. In this cadence, the world's pace loses its claim. In this discipline, the infinite now becomes the atmosphere of your hours. You have no time, and I have no time. God works in the infinite nowness, and we consent again and again to be worked by God. Beloved, let us seal this in the heart that knows before the mind explains. I and the Father are one. Not a slogan to parade, not a charm to flash, not a badge to be shown, but a fact to be lived in breath and in step and in silence and in speech. I and the Father are one, washing a cup, one crossing a street, one drafting a line, one listening between words. Before Abraham was, I am not as a boast of person, but as the humble recognition that life is living itself as you, timelessly, measurelessly, now. We live outside time. We consent to let the clock keep its hours while we keep our awareness in the infinite now. And in this, now, hear the assurance that does not age. Who shall separate us from the love of Christ? Shall tribulation, or distress, or persecution, or famine? Nay, for I am persuaded, say it within yourself, as your own persuasion, that neither death, nor life, nor angels, nor principalities, nor powers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor height, nor depth, nor any other creature shall be able to separate us from the love of God. Not the hour you dread, not the shadow behind you, not the forecast before you, not the voice that argues, not the symptom, not the balance sheet, not the headline, nothing. Love is the atmosphere. Presence is the law. Oneness is the fact. Lo, I am with you always. Always is not a span. Always is a state. And because it is so, communion widens until there is no edge. I and my fellow man are one. We are brothers in Christ, sisters in Christ, one family life in one life, infinitely expressed, infinitely manifest. I and the Father are one means I and my brother are not two lives competing, but one life appearing as many faces, not sentiment, but sight, not toleration, but recognition. The neighbor at your desk, the stranger in your lane, the elder, the child, the quiet tree by your window, the bird that crosses your path, one indivisible life presenting itself in forms that come and go while the reality does not. Judge not according to the appearance. Bless silently. Walk gently. Let the infinite now make kin of all. And so we praise, not to persuade, but to participate in what is thine is, the kingdom and the power and the glory. Thine is the kingdom. Thine is the power. Thine is the glory. Now and now and now. Say it as breath. Say it as being. Say it as the cadence that tunes the day. Thine is the kingdom in the line at the store. Thine is the power in the meeting that needs mercy. Thine is the glory in the quiet chore no eye will see. Not mine versus thine, but thyself as my very life. Here is the charge, gentle and sure. Return to this 7-minute altar daily. Keep it like bread and water, simple and sufficient. Let the bell call you not to effort, but to consent. Sit, yield, receive, and rest the most positive, yes, yes, without any mental hesitation or reservation to the one who already is. Let God work in the infinite nowness. Let mind be the instrument and not the maker. Let the hours be doorways and not demands. Little pauses often, light obediences frequently. The chapel within goes where you go. And now, go in the peace that does not depart because it does not arrive. Carry the fragrance into all your ways without leaving where you are. Feet on sidewalks, heart in sanctuary, hands at labor, soul at rest. If you forget, turn and you are home, for there is no distance in the now. I and the Father are one. I and my fellow man are one. One life, one power, one glory. Thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Now, now, now.